using what we've learned and putting that into our everyday life with all these distractions and stimulation around us.
You said we are all human. So what you're experiencing, everybody experiences that. And in Vedanta and the Hindu philosophy, human is called Manas. Manas is mind driven, and mind is constantly fluctuating. So the whole concept of mindfulness is bringing awareness to our mind. Three things are very important, which is Shravanam, Mananam, Nidhidhyasanam.
So there's a difference between the judgment and the questioning, right? It's the curiosity to learn, and then there's people that are asking questions, but they're unknowingly actually rejecting it because they're coming with their own self-limiting beliefs. How do we separate the two?
Whether we respond or react again goes through four stages. First, there is a cognition, then recognition, then sensation, and then react or respond. Instead of attacking the message, try to understand. You can question at that point. Please explain to me, but don't reject something that you have not experienced or not understood.
All right. Hi, Nivedita. It's great to have you back again. I'm super excited to have another incredible opportunity to be able to interview you on this podcast. I've said this before and I'll say this again. You are very insightful, very knowledgeable, and I am so excited for the discussion that we're going to have on this podcast. So let's go have fun.
Thank you and namaste. And I'm sure you may well be aware of this gesture. And it's just a Vedantic way of recognizing that the soul in me is the same as soul in you, even though outside we are very different. Our body, mind, and intellects are different, but that spirit that's driving us is the same. So I just wanted to bring that in, and I so look forward to our conversation because I find in you a very open and curious mind. And also, not just that, a lot of people have open and curious mind, but they don't take the information and put it to practice, which I see you doing that. So you come back with information from the battlefield, if I may say, that just putting it to use in your daily life and then seeing what resonates and what doesn't. So that's really, I admire that quality in you.
Oh, thank you so much for that kind comment of yours. And like you said, this has taken years of practice for me to do. And obviously we're all human, right? So we all have, times where we slip up, where we lose that. And so this is something I think it's going to be a lifelong journey for me, but like to learn to take what I've learned to put into practice. It works in certain situations, but other situations I just completely lose it. I completely forget about that and go back to my pre-programming, the things that I was conditioned with, which is like a good segment into like I wanted to ask, how can we continually keep using what we've learned and putting that into our everyday life with all these distractions and stimulation around us?
Right. But then before we move on to answer that question or discuss that question, you said we are all human. And that's so right. So what you're experiencing, everybody experiences that. Human, we have three stages of awareness. One is subconscious, which is acting from our animal instinct, which is preservation of the body and preservation of the species. So the drive for food and drive for sex is so important because it's a preservative instinct. And then we have the superconscious, which also is, it's a very wise self, which does not necessarily come into our day-to-day life unless it is asked a question. So all of us operate from the middle, which is human. And in Vedanta and the Hindu philosophy, human is called Manas. Manas is mind driven, and mind is constantly fluctuating. So the whole concept of mindfulness, you just asked, how do we, maintain that? How do we learn something and use it in our day-to-day practice is bringing awareness to our mind, understanding that the mind, the nature and role of mind is vacillation. And mindfulness is just watching the mind. And the mind is like an untrained child or a small child, a pet. So when you watch it calmly, without judging it, without yelling or screaming at it, it naturally tends to calm down. So our mind is our best friend and our mind is our worst enemy. When it's untrained, it takes you into uncharted territory that you're not comfortable with. And that's, I think we discussed it one time, the negativity bias and the confirmation bias. So if you are not focused on what you're doing, we are hardwired. The mind is hardwired for negativity bias, which is what? Preserving ourselves. So
Survive.
yes, survival. And survival means two things, certainty and predictability. So we're stuck in that, the example given in Vedanta is there is a pole and we are here and there is a rope like a lasso that is tied around our neck. You can only go that far, right?
Uh,
But freedom is taking that yoke off and giving yourself the permission to go beyond that conditioning. And for that, three things are very important, which is, and I will use the Sanskrit words, but I will also explain that to you. We say Mananam, Shravanam, Mananam, Nidhidhyasanam. Listening. Anything you want to learn and grow, how to remove that lasso, how to get that freedom from the mind that is stuck in that groove, is you must listen to higher information that helps you elevate. So mostly it is got from scriptures, but proper interpretation of scriptures. So, or even, people who have lived that life, or people who are evolved being in their presence. So you listen to them. What happens is when we go somewhere, we are so intent on speaking how much we know, instead of just learning, sitting there and listening to everything without resisting it. That's not the time to question. You can definitely question, I didn't hear what did you mean, but not questioning the veracity or the goodness of that information. The second stage is called Mananam. When you go back and you spend time reflecting and contemplating what I heard, does it make sense? You have to figure that out for yourself, either by meditation or reading or talking to other people who have expertise on that content. So in that phase of reflection and contemplation, you are supposed to ask as many questions as you have, because you have to make sense. You are not a believer. I say so, so you have to believe it. You're a seeker. You want to know why. And that's where the mind, you have to ask wherever you got the information from, you have every right to ask them to explain and explain and explain till it becomes clear to you. Or if they are not able to explain, go to a different source to get, instead of rejecting something, questioning to a point with a motivation to understand. And once you understand, and only when you resonate, you start practicing it. Because if you practice without understanding, it becomes gibberish and it becomes very binding. Those rituals and those beliefs become very binding.
okay. So it's observing, right? To have that awareness,
Yes.
reflection, to have discernment and figure out if that's truly what that if it really works for you to process and understand it in your own way, and then put it into action. Put it into action.
Yes. Yes. And in that observation, the important thing is listening. So we have to, wherever you go, suppose you want to understand about science or about economics or about history or about spirituality, you find the best possible source that you have access to and go there with an open mind, which is what I keep telling you. You always come with an open mind. Not necessarily you have to accept everything I say or anybody says, but for the time being, you set aside your judgment. You just listen to what the other person has to say. And there's a story about a Zen master, one of these media persons from the West went to Japan to question, because he was creating such miracles and word spread. So he wanted to go find out if he's a hoax, or is it for real? So when he goes there, and in Japan, they have this very sacred tea ceremony when they receive esteemed guests. So the both of them sat down, and this Zen master gets the two cups and he starts pouring the tea. And the cup gets filled, and then he keeps on, continues to pour, and it overflows and it's going over the table. And this interviewer from the Western world was very uncomfortable. He said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Exactly what you're doing. If your cup is so full, how will you even listen to what I have to say?" So that's
I
a
love that.
reminder that when we go somewhere, let's set aside our beliefs, our convictions, our judgment, and listen to it. And then come back and bring all your understanding to it and question and question and question. And
Mhm,
if it resolves, great. If it doesn't, go back with the questions.
mhm,
And only when you are convinced that it is right for you, then you practice. But there is a little caveat there. So when we go into a physics class, let's say we're attending a lecture by Einstein, it is not possible for us to understand everything Einstein is trying to teach us. So that is where the faith comes in. It's a qualified faith. You have gone there because you assessed or determined that Einstein knows a little better than you when it comes to science.
mhm.
So give him the chance to explain to you of everything he says that you that's not true because your understanding does not support that conclusion. So at that point, instead of attacking the message, try to understand. You can question at that point. Please explain to me, but don't reject something that you have not experienced or not understood.
I think that a lot of people have trouble with having that judgment come into it, right? And they unconsciously already reject it. So there's a difference between the judgment and the questioning, right? It's the curiosity to learn. And then there's people that come into there that think they're asking questions, but they're unknowingly actually rejecting it because they're coming with their own self-limiting beliefs, their own judgment, and they're bringing it into it, but they don't realize that. How do we separate the two?
Such a brilliant question, such a brilliant observation. Yes, you're absolutely right. And we have to understand the process of when we say something, there are actually steps to it. First, there is the speech. When we are talking, we have to understand what controls speech. Our thoughts control our speech, right? What we think is what we speak. What controls our thought? Our ideas controls our thoughts. Our ideas about ourselves, ideas about the world, ideas about religion, ideas about gender, ideas about science, ideas about they control our thoughts. Now, what controls the ideas is the impulse. And in Sanskrit, in Vedanta, it's called vasanas. So these are the conditioning that you're not aware of. It's beyond your sensory perception. So what
Fingertip.
happens is whether we respond or react depends, again, goes through four stages. First, there is a cognition, then recognition, then sensation, and then react or respond. So what is cognition? Like you correctly said, curiosity, open mind. When you meet everyone and every experience for the first time, you have no baggage. You don't know what to make of it. So that is called the stimuli is coming towards you, information is coming towards you, and you are a blank state meeting it for the first time. Now, when it happens a second time, you already have a memory. I like ice cream. I don't like ice cream. I like a tiger. I don't like a tiger. I like going to the church. I don't like going to the church. I like being this or I don't like being this. So you already have a memory. So that is called recognition, recognition. You're understanding or meeting that for the second time. Then what happens is the third step is sensation. So at that time, you have the experience is either good or bad. So if it is, you file it away as such a thing gives me pleasure, such a thing gives me pain. So you have already decided that this Indians are good or bad, Chinese are good or bad, Americans are good or bad. Religion is good or bad, a church is good or bad, temple is good or bad. Democrats are good or bad, Republicans are good or bad. So it's a judgment call you make based on your current level of understanding, and you file it away as such. Now, if you don't bring any awareness to this filing process, you will continue to react because now you have set the filters. Every
Yep.
time I see an Indian or a Chinese or an American, this is what I'm going to think. Every time I see a churchgoer, this is what I'm going to think. Every time I meet a Democrat, this is what I'm going to think. But if the minute you say, I don't like that, always or never, when you use words like, I hate it always, I love that, I'll never do that, understand your filters are activated. So step back and say, whoa, 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 whoa. I can go back one step and go back to the first cognition. Let me meet this person or this institution or this experience as if it's for the first time. I'm not going to bring any of my baggage. So then what are you doing? You're creating the space between the thinker and the thoughts that are already filed away, and you reserve the right, the choice to respond. And what is respond? Respond means it is your responsibility. Responsibility is to respond with, you can respond with love, you can respond with gratitude, you can respond with forgiveness, and you can respond with repentance, which is learning that, oh, what I did before was out of a limited understanding, awareness, but my awareness has grown and I can choose to respond differently.
I love that because you're essentially bringing yourself back to an observer perspective instead of being in a reactive mode. And like you said, you create that space. And when you have that space, you have that space to choose how you want to respond going forward. That absolutely beautiful. And that also brings so much importance into observing and awareness, which is a lot of times we don't do because we're in autopilot all the
Yeah.
time.
And I'll give you something which I heard somewhere, which was brilliant. It stayed with me, and it'll be useful for you and anybody who listens to this, is that when we react, we are behaving like a thermometer. And when we respond, we behave like a thermostat. So a thermometer, when you put it into an environment, it has no choice but to register the temperature of the environment. You put it into hot water, it'll register heat. You put it into ice, it'll register cold. That is reacting. But a thermostat is, irrespective of what the temperature is outside, you fix the internal temperature at 72 degrees. No matter if it goes 100 degrees, drops to 50 degrees, your internal house temperature will be 72 degrees. So that is called responding. No matter how the outside world or the people in my life behave, I can respond with love, gratitude, forgiveness, and repentance.
That's a beautiful quote right there. And a great analogy too. It really puts things in perspective and easy to digest. I love
Yeah.
that. Also, I wanted to talk about the point where you said, I like this and I hate this. The pleasure and the pain. And I think that's very important to note because this is how people operate all the time. Obviously, we want to go towards the like, and then we build these associations that are similar to these experiences that we like. So we gravitate towards that. The things that we had bad experience with in the past, we try to deter from that, anything that is similar to it. Now, how can we come to a neutral state? Because I feel like we're being attached either one or the other, right? So like I love this so much, but then people end up so attached to that experience that they seek out more and it becomes detrimental. And of course, on the other end, right? It's bad. So they do everything that they can to avoid it, but they also end up missing out on life.
Yes. So, as you correctly said, the goal is to land in the middle. That is called equanimity. That does not mean you're lifeless. It means that in psychology, it's called you're not having a limbic hijack, an emotional hijack. You
Mm,
know this is the right thing to do, but your emotions get in the way and you get pulled in one direction or the other. You know that your child or your spouse or your friend has done something wrong, but you refuse to accept that because emotionally you're attached. Or so what happens is, either the more the pendulum swings one way, naturally it'll swing even further the other way. So the whole life goes like that, and it feels good. Many people say, what's wrong with it? But the analogy I give is being in a roller coaster. It's so much fun going up and going down and going up, but there comes a time when you feel nauseous, you're getting a headache, you want to get off, but you're unable to get off because you don't know how to come to the middle, you don't know how to press the stop button. That is the equanimity. That is where it starts, some place where there is no movement, so that you can choose to go up or you can choose to go down, but you must have the ability to come and stop in the center.
mm,
And the way to do that is through observation. And
mm,
that is where the chanting, we talked about mantras last time, and meditation helps, because you realize when you are uh, most people are recommending meditation nowadays. It's not that easy. If this mind has not been trained, if you have not prepared the mind, it is not capable of going into a meditative state. And to prepare the mind is the chanting, whether it is mantras or affirmations or whatever it is, some scriptural study, but preparing the mind to calm down before you can go to that meditative state where you're observing you and your thoughts. You're not your thoughts. Anything you own is not you. When you say, my car, you're not your car. My house, you're not your house. My thoughts, why do you think you're your thoughts? So there, the thoughts are possessing you. Now you create a little distance and realize that you are creating your thoughts, like we said in the beginning. First there is the speech, then there is the thought, then behind that is the idea, and behind that is an impulse. So when you watch the thought, the speech first of all has to stop. The thoughts will immediately run helter skelter like popcorn, popping. But if you continue to watch, it will slowly settle down. You must have experienced in meditation. And then you get an idea that, why did I think this? Because I think women are like this. I think Indians are like this. I think politicians are like that. I think religion is like this. So the thought, now you access the idea. And when you continue to watch yourself, even the idea will drop and you realize that you have three options. One is you need to say something, need to think certain way. That is survival mentality of no choice. And then you realize that you want to think a certain way. You want to do a certain thing. You don't need it, but you want. That's a thrive state. But even there, you are not totally free. Then you realize that if you are driven by your wants, again, this will go this way and it'll swing even higher the other side. Just like if you eat very spicy food, you can't just walk away. You need something sweet. If you eat extremely sugary stuff, you need something sour. Why? Because you're going too far in one taste. So the next stage is, after need comes want, is intent. I don't need it. I don't want it, but I intend to do it. When you intend, you have the power to come back to home base, which is peace and equanimity, and settle in the middle. So to understand that, are you being driven by need? Are you being driven by want? Or are you preparing yourself, your mind, to be driven by your intention to do, because it needs to get done? This is what I intend to do at this. I intend to eat well. I intend to take rest now. I intend to create this. It is in my control. It's not driven by my need to survive. It is not driven by my reckless, untrained mind going here and there, and I'm getting a limbic hijack. Emotional hijack. I know I shouldn't eat it, but I want to eat it. I know I should not hang out with this person, but I want to hang out with this person. I know I don't need to go to that place, but I cannot stop myself from going. That is called a limbic hijack. You know you're not supposed to do it. What is forcing you to go there? Because you don't have any power over your intention.
Intention is so key. And a lot of people choose things without any intentions. They don't do it, they do it unintentionally. So what
But
I've learned.
I just want to clarify one thing. When I say intention, so I'm talking about the intellect, that ability to the mind, but not the ordinary mind that's going up and down, up and down. Ordinary mind is feeling. I want to do this, I don't want to do this. When I'm talking about intention, it comes from the intellect, the ability to make proper choices.
To make the right choice for you.
Yes, for at that moment. I know I want to do this, but I know that this is not good for me, so I choose not to do this. That's the intellect. So, when in English language, when we say mind, we don't understand that there are four categories, four aspects of the mind. Unless you're familiar with all aspects, you cannot control the mind. One is the common information. This is blue, this is green, this is sweet, this is sour. That's the information, right? The mind, the thoughts. Then the intellect, which is blue is good, not good, red is bad, not bad. You're making a decision.
Categories, yeah.
Yes. But that is driven by your memories, what we talked about. the sensation from the past. And the past is not just this lifetime. We are a multicellular being that has evolved from single cell amoeba. So the memories of the amoeba are also in us. And all the lives we have lived are in us. So we don't realize that sack of conditioning is enormous.
Yeah.
And then in this lifetime, we have this individualized consciousness called ego. I need Nivedita Ganapathi, who is a woman, who is a Hindu, who lives in America, who, whatever is the identification I have put myself in, chooses these things. So then to slowly let go of this identification and go back to the source where everything is perfect and good, there's nothing bad. What do you intend to create?
That also reminds me of what you said earlier, is going back to the blank state, right?
Yes, exactly. Because there are everything is infinite possibility. This supreme consciousness, intelligence, awareness has infinite, immortal, possibilities. What do I choose to create? And if with awareness you create, you can come back from it. When you do it consciously, you call yourself a co-creator. When you do it subconsciously, you call it destiny. Oh,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
happened, right? That's what Carl Jung said. Unless you make your unconscious conscious, it will drive you and you'll call it fate or destiny.
That's also one of my favorite quotes by him. He has
Yes.
great quotes, Carl Jung.
Yes.
It's like you're taking the words right out of my mouth here, because I was just about to say that quote.
I
Beautiful.
just want to tell you one thing though. You come up with such beautiful things. When people are in resonance, and we enjoy talking to each other because we are in resonance. In Sanskrit, the word for heaven is called swarga. Swar is tune. So when you are in resonance with whatever is good for you, it feels like you're in heaven.
Mm.
So when two people are talking, they're in resonance. You fall in love, you co-create, you can be wonderful colleagues, you can do so many things together. But when the frequencies don't match,
Mhm, mhm.
that's when it's so difficult because you feel like you're pulling the other person's energy or you are pushing away the other person's energy, and it exhausts you in the end.
Yes, I've definitely had a lot of personal experience with that. When you guys are on completely different frequencies and you're trying to have them meet where you are, it just pushes them further away.
Yes, and when you start on a spiritual journey, and by spiritual I mean your highest potential, what happens is in the beginning you'll start losing a lot of friends. People get so scared and worried and they come to me, what am I doing wrong? Why is everybody leaving me? I said, because your frequencies are not matching. They're not bad, you're not good, nothing. Neither you are bad nor they are bad. It's just that you are not you're functioning in that frequency anymore. It's like changing radio channels. So you have left one channel, let's say English music, and you are now trying to switch to Spanish music. You're in between, there's some static. Until you reach the other channel, you are going to be alone for a little bit.
Mhm. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with. And that's why a lot of people are scared to go on this journey, because to go on this spiritual journey, to be your authentic self, means you're not everyone's cup of tea. You're never going to be everyone's cup of tea. And you're going to lose a lot of friends, a lot of people that you love behind. And you can only hope that they're going to, rise to the frequency that you are and meet you at a later time. But I've also noticed a lot of people don't want to do that. So what they end up doing is lowering their frequency, sacrificing their own needs and their own uh, potential and fate to be with that person, so they don't have to be lonely.
Yes.
It's so hard for so many people to do, because this is a hard thing.
Yes, you're so right. And then just, knowing the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is when you're scared of your own company, and solitude is when you relish it. You know that you don't, need anybody, but you intend to spend time with people, so you will. That doesn't mean we are social creatures. We definitely need human beings around us, but there are frequencies, and that's what Nikola Tesla says. And I think all of the personal development channels talk about it. There is energy, frequency, and vibration. So energy is information, and it's vibrating, moving at different frequency. So whatever you want to create, you just go to that frequency. And when you are in tune with that frequency, whatever is available in that frequency, the people, the experiences, and the objects will be available to you. And that's what the chakra system is all about. There are 7 frequencies constantly active in you, the 7 chakras. And depending on where your energy is mostly operating from, that's what you're going to experience.
And I've also noticed that when you are intentional in being in that frequency, but not forcing it and allowing it to happen, things come a lot easier instead of this is the frequency I want. These are the things that I want that attach to that frequency. I'm going to do everything that I can to get to there. Instead, it just makes it worse. Things don't happen in your way, but when you surrender, when you open yourself up and allow, things come at ease. That
Absolutely. Because, what they say is that when you resist something, it persists. And when you chase something, it runs away from you. So, exactly that. So, when something happens that we don't like, we resist it. The more you resist, the more it will persist. And something you like, you're chasing after it, whether it is your the man or woman of your dream, or the job of your dream, or whatever of your dream, it'll run away from you. Law of attraction is very different from chasing something, like you said. So understanding that, my favorite game is, I've realized ever since I discovered it, in the Constitution of the United States, it says, in the pursuit of happiness, whatever you pursue, you will never achieve. So I put it I reverse the order.
is to
Happiness of
pursue.
pursuit. Everything is joyful because I intend to experience this. So
Yes, yes. That's actually something that I just learned a couple of years ago was because I was operating under pursuit of happiness. This is what society teaches us, right? Happiness is something to attain. That's not true. Happiness, you can have happiness at any point in time. You just have to change your mindset for that. And so when you're able to pursue things joyfully, do things joyfully, it's not about the destination. That's
yeah.
what everyone's thinking of. It's the whole journey in itself that is the happiness. That is what gives you joy.
Yes, and you so correctly said happiness is not outside, because if it was outside, with where would it be? With an object or a person? So this is what the Sanskrit word dharma is. Is it its essential nature? No. So if a certain person can give you happiness, he should be able to give it to you all the time under all circumstances, but they can't. So that is not their dharma. Just like, to explain dharma, the essence of essential quality of sugar is what? Sugar. No matter who eats it, it will give sweetness. Whether a good person, bad person, animal, human, whoever, that is called dharma. And the dharma of human beings is to be happy in and of yourself. Because, for instance, we think a beautiful sunset gives us happiness. You're looking at a beautiful sunset, you're feeling so happy, and then somebody comes and gives you a very bad news. Immediately, that sunset would lose its ability to give you joy. So it never had it in the first place. The happiness was coming from within. And then people then ask me, how can people enjoy bad things in life? I mean, all the bad things that are happening. It is not a question of enjoying, it is coming with that detached mindset, like, I intend to experience this. For instance, we are doing that all the time. When we go and watch a scary movie, what is that? You choose to go and see something, you even pay money for it. So if you do that, you can do that in real life also. Similarly, people who jump off, let's say bungee jumping, is that a very safe feeling? No, it's not at all safe. But why people pay money and do it? Because they want to experience it. They intend to experience. So let's bring that mindset to everything in life. Whatever happens, we sometimes pay to see bad things, pay to have less than secure feeling. Why can't we just, without paying, do it in our own lives every day?
That is so true. I never thought about it that way. Why?
Think
Why?
about it.
Well, how come
So,
we don't think like
because again, in Sanskrit, the word for the sukham is 2 words. Su is accepting everything. Come is the space. So our ability to accommodate all the people, all the experiences, all the circumstances gives us that power to be human being, because animals don't have that power. They don't
True.
have choice. Their choice has been taken away, so that, and human beings can have animal instinctual nature where they do not tap into their choice. So they feel that if this happens, I have to react this way. No, you don't have to. You may not be aware. So out of instinct, and instead of being intentional, you're being instinctual. Animals
Mm.
don't have that choice. If you poke them and torture them, they cannot enjoy it. Human beings, we poke ourselves, torture ourselves. We have body piercing. What is that? We enjoy it.
Hmm.
Nobody's forcing us to do it. No animal will ever do that, right?
And that's what makes humans so beautiful and complex. That's what makes human life so
Yes.
beautiful and complex.
And that's what in Sanskrit, there are three levels I told you. There is an animal instinct, animal level, human level, and God, what we call deities. Now, only at the human level, you have maximum freedom, maximum choice. Because at the animal level, you have no choice. You are so conditioned, so programmed that you can eat only a certain kind of thing. You can only enjoy a certain environment. And at the deity level, God level, whatever you call it, they also don't have any choice, because let's say in Hindu practices, there is Lakshmi for wealth, and there is Shiva for taking away your negativity and what have you. They cannot give that to anybody. You have to, first of all, ask, and second of all, be eligible to receive. Gods cannot give their power. I'm not talking about the supreme consciousness. That supreme consciousness has various, attributes which are known by different names, and we call them gods. So those attributes can only give you that what you ask for, and only when you're eligible to receive. The animals cannot give you anything. Only the humans can give you something without asking, and even when you're not eligible.
You're not- Oh man, that is so
Now
true.
you
Yeah,
know
we're
why it is so powerful to be a human being.
it's the free will. It's the free will
Everything.
that we
We're the
have.
only
Yeah.
one in these three. So and if you map that onto psychology, so the animal is our subconscious. It cannot, the
Mhm.
job of subconscious is not to make you happy, not to make you grow. It's only to keep you safe. So whatever program has been put into your subconscious, it's going to run that in the background. And the superconscious will not reveal itself unless you ask. And you cannot ask unless you're eligible to get that answer. Now, the only thing that you have any control is your conscious mind. That is where the freedom comes from. Freedom is not in the subconscious. Freedom is not in the superconscious. It's only in your conscious mind.
Freedom is only in your conscious mind.
Freedom of choice.
Freedom of choice. Wow. That is actually the first time I heard that. I'm gonna take a while to digest and process that. The freedom
Exactly.
of choice is only in your conscious mind. I also like what you said about you as a human, you ask for something to the deity, to the gods, to the universe, and then you have to be eligible to receive.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people, me including, we fall into the victim of we want these certain things. We're already asking, we know what we want, but a lot of times we don't get it because we're not either in the frequency of it or we're not the person yet to be able to receive those gifts.
And
And
and the and the way to look at that is like a child. If you have a gun in the house and the child just says, I want it, I want it, I want it, would you give a gun to a child? You wouldn't. So
oh,
similarly, when we ask for money or we ask for power, if we don't know how to handle that money, if we don't
yeah,
know how to handle that power, no supreme energy is going to give you that, because you're going to create chaos and havoc. You'll create havoc in everybody's life if you're given something that you're not ready to handle, because too much power can corrupt somebody, too much money can make people greedy. You must have the right mindset. And you and the most of us may or may not agree that those who have got the money, they deserve it, but we just look at the exterior. We don't understand what goes on in their mind and how they prepared themselves. For instance, let's take the example of Elon Musk. Now look at the amount of money he has created, and we all say that is he eligible to get that money? But the thing is, what is the eligibility to get money? Eligibility to get money is you possess the money. The money does not possess you.
Mm,
And how many of us can put everything we own towards our goal? No, the money controls us. We get
yeah.
greedy, we get scared, but that one man was able to put his entire wealth towards his goal. He got the money, he realized that money is here to serve him. He is not here to serve money. So that
Uh,
detachment from the money gives you the eligibility. Only one of the eligibility. There are many other eligibilities, but this is one of them, that if money comes to you and it possesses you, you start hoarding it, or you start just keeping it for yourself and your family, you won't be given lots of money. Because that is the abundance of nature. We are the instruments or channel through which the abundance will come. If the abundance comes and we just hoard it, then we will implode and the universe will implode. Remember last time we talked about the breath in and breath out? You'll take the breath in, but you will never let it out. You will implode. Similarly with
yeah,
abundance, you just receive abundance, but you don't know how to distribute it.
that's so true. Yeah, like you said before in our previous podcast, is life is give and take,
Give and
right?
take. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are many. So that's where the and I also want to make a distinction between the supreme consciousness awareness and the deities and gods. These deities and gods, which in the at least in the Hindu culture, old Greek culture, there are hundred thousands of them. That is not the god, the supreme power. These are the various qualities and powers of that supreme. So
Mm,
that's why,
sure.
for instance, think about the American country, the state of United States, the country of United States. If you go to the tax department and you ask for medical benefits, can they give you medical benefits? No.
No.
They can only deal with your tax problems. Do you understand what I
Yeah.
mean? Think of these
Yeah.
departments and deities and the supreme power being the Constitution of America. It has given certain powers to certain departments. Now, if you go to that department, you cannot go to the tax department and ask for medical relief. They have no
True.
choice. And even if you go to the tax department for tax relief, you must be eligible to get that relief. They cannot just give it to you.
You're right. I'll go back to that.
But a human being on the street, if you ask, say, hey, can you give me some money? I have to pay off my tax. If he feels like it, he'll give you the money. He won't care whether you're eligible or not.
You make it seem, I mean, this all makes a lot of sense now when you describe it in these analogies in the simple terms. It's actually quite simple. But why is it so hard for us to put it into practice?
See, this is where when we hear something, that's the first step. The second is the contemplation and reflection. You and I, people like you and me, we like to go back and think about these things. That is necessary. Today you heard something you might not have heard before, but you're going to go back and you're going to dedicate a certain time to understand what was that idea. That is necessary to
And
understand and overcome conditioning.
and again, going back to what we were talking about with between animals and humans is I that's the beauty of human life is that we're able to take that information, to reflect on it, to process it and put it into action. So it's the freedom to choose, while animals, they take that information and they just react. And I
Yeah.
feel like if everybody kind of has that mindset of like how blessed and honored we are to be able to experience this life, I think to embody the gratitude of all human life, good and bad, all your good and bad experience, I think it would make living a lot more joyful than just seeing all the bad things that have happened to you.
Yes. And when we talk, also to be very careful when we use the word bad, because like we just discussed, there is no good or bad. So bungee jumping is bad for the body, but the body still is doing it. Why? So there is an awareness that intends to. It doesn't want to, it doesn't need to, but it intends to experience. So every human being in your life has come with a plan, with a blueprint that in this lifetime, I want to experience being and doing these things. Imagine a movie. You go to a movie and everybody is a hero there, protagonist.
Mhm.
Will you enjoy that movie? You need an antagonist. You need duality and contrast to enjoy life. How would you like it if you go to a movie and everybody's like, yes, 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 everything you want, I'll give? There's no fun there.
Ah, yes.
Needs the
There's no
context.
excitement.
So sometimes I choose to be the antagonist. Sometimes I choose to play the protagonist. Sometimes I choose to be just characters who have no role, just come in for a little bit. So we need all these people in our life and we need to be those people. Sometimes we choose this and sometimes we choose that role.
Yeah, it's just like what you said before in the first podcast, where we also come with our own unique gifts, right? So one person comes in someone's life to either help them or as a lesson, but the most important thing is understanding what your unique gifts are to embody that. We're all brought here for a reason, and we're all part of a grand plan
Yes.
that we don't
Yes.
understand.
And the unique gift is for this lifetime. It's not for every lifetime. So if I've signed up to be the protagonist or the villain in this lifetime, I have to play that role to the best of my ability. I may even get an Oscar for being the villain. But that doesn't mean every lifetime I'll sign up to be the villain. I may choose.
Ah, ah.
And what happens is when we are not trained, when we have not been contemplative and reflective about these things, when you look at a movie and you start hating that character, but you don't understand the person playing the character is not bad. It's just the character, the role. So, everybody you meet, if you can just bring to your head, like we started with Namaste, that awareness inside me is the same awareness inside that person. I have chosen to play one role, and that other person has chosen to play a different role. It's just a role. Next time we meet, maybe they'll play a different role. I'll be playing a different role.
Mm. So it's more of being aware of what they do, their actions, instead of labeling them as a certain category,
Yes.
right? And it all comes back to observation again, like what you
Yes.
said.
And
Making
also,
that.
we label them because we think that this is the truth. I know he's a bad
Ah,
person because I just know it. Who told you? Because truth is at three levels. One is a personal truth. My filters, whatever my experience has been based on that, I think certain things are true, certain things are not true. Then there is a collective or a transactional truth. So the people of America believe a certain thing. The Christian religion believes a certain thing. Other religions believe a certain thing. That is a collective truth. And then there is the absolute truth. Absolute truth is there is only one consciousness that is pervading through everything and orchestrating everything. So there is no good or bad. At the absolute truth, there is no good or bad. At the transactional collective truth and at the individual truth, there is good and bad, because we can only remember last time we said, I'm seeing black, you're seeing pink. That's it. So my truth is this image and your truth is that. So I can't, if I don't make an effort, I really cannot see your truth, what you're seeing and feeling
mm.
and experiencing.
So first is personal truth, second is collective truth, and third is the
Absolute.
supreme truth.
Yes, which
Absolutely.
is absolute and supreme is the same in the sense there is no good and bad, because there is only, and the best way to understand this, Eudora, is if you get this, you're home free. Think of life and all the people, like we say that in Vedanta, it says that we create the world. There is no world out there, it's just a projection. It's like we go to a dream sleep. We create a whole world with millions of people and countries and institutions and what have you, but they have all come out of me. This is
Mm.
all in my dream world. So whether they're good or bad, it's all, I have assigned roles to these people. And when I'm done, I bring it back into me. I wake up. So spiritual awakening is that you wake up and you realize, these all people are my project. There is only one consciousness that is projecting different thoughts. And each thought form takes on a form and a shape. And I can choose to bring it, I can choose to continue that role, I can choose to dissolve that role, I can choose to bring it back to me. So understanding that everything is a projection of me. And that supreme God or supreme consciousness then creates collectively, and then in your dream, every individual has their thoughts, right? You think a certain way, people in your, and then there is a collective belief. Even in your dream, there's a collective belief.
Yeah.
My family was fighting the other family. My country is fighting another country. My religion is, propagating to another religion. There's a collective belief even in your dream.
Yeah. It's
And
just
then you
different
wake
levels.
up, and then there's a supreme reality. There's nothing, there's just me. They were all part of me.
That kind of reminds me of I think I saw a quote somewhere where maybe it wasn't a quote, but more of a belief that, God, not belief, sorry. Christianity says in the Bible that God is within you.
Yeah.
God is not a being that you see or that you worship. God comes within you. So that's why it's so important to accept God within your heart.
Yeah.
Because like you said, everything is a projection of from your external world is your projection of your internal world.
Yes.
Sure.
And I mean, I went to a Christian school, so I've forgotten many of the actual content, but I remember the kingdom of God is within you, and that's what Hinduism says. So it's all here. But the messengers, for whatever reason, have either for political reasons or for economic reasons, it has gone to a level where they want believers, because believers do not question. But we are entering the age of Aquarius where everybody is a seeker. Nobody is a believer anymore. I'm not saying believers was bad. In the age of Pisces, where it was run by emotions, Pisces is water sign, which is dominated by emotions, believers were okay. But when you're entering the age of Aquarius, which is an air sign, believers cannot survive. You need seekers. You need to understand why. So nothing was good or bad. It was right for that time. Now we need a different methodology or different focus. That's all.
It's always changing, right? Nothing is ever really the same. And
Yes.
a lot of people end up getting stuck to that, right? It's one belief at that time, and that's how it's going to be for the rest of the life.
Yeah.
That's not of the universe.
Yeah. And so that's beautiful what you said, because again, in Sanskrit, there are two things. The one thing that is immortal, infinite, changeless is your awareness. Everything else is changing. Your body is changing. The cells are changing every few weeks, every few months, every few years. Your mind is changing second to second. Even your ideas are changing. But the one thing that never change is you, the observer. You observe your body, you observe your mind, you observe your intellect, you observe your environment. That observer never changes. And in Vedanta or Sanskrit, that is the God principle. The one that is the witness, the observer, which never changes. You cannot kill it, you cannot annihilate it, you cannot destroy it. That is the God. Everything else is an illusion that you're creating. Constantly, your mind is changing, your body is changing, your ideas are changing, because that awareness wants to experience itself. So it creates all kinds, like in a dream world, we have so many dreams based, we don't realize that we create our own dreams because it's happening unconsciously. But people have, a liminal space where they do lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is
Yeah,
when you create something that you want, because you have, with control, you enter the dream world. The movie Inception.
I love that movie.
Yeah,
One of my
even Matrix talks about that. Sometimes we should talk about the Matrix and Inception. These are the Vedantic truths which requires a lot of in-depth reflection and contemplation.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with that dreams are just the dreams are created through your subconscious. It's all of the things that you're inputted. It's its way of processing things. But I also love what you said, and it's kind of tying the ribbon here because this is exactly what we talked about from the very beginning is observation, how powerful that is, observation and awareness. And it's so underrated because it's so subtle. It's subtle and it sounds so simple that people don't want to really kind of dive into this because they want to attach to some sort of things. They want to act, they want to do something, but observing is the opposite of that. And it's so powerful what you said, that like everything is changing, your external factors, your beliefs, these illusions that you create, your skin, your body, everything is changing. But your observation, your awareness has always stayed the same. And I think that's also very comforting to hear because
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. Because if you just think about it, let's do this last a small experiment before we end today's podcast. Just close your eyes. Close your eyes, and I'm going to lead you through a visualization. Think of yourself when you were very young, maybe 2, 3, 4, as far back as your memory would go.
Mm.
Think of what you're playing with, then what you're wearing, where you are, and then take your imagination to when you're about 7 or 8, you're in grade school, the friends and the classroom and the lessons and the playground and the food. Just become aware of all of that. Just bring it to your focus. Now grow up to be a teenager. You're in high school, and all the different friends and equations and power equations and clothes and ideas and the concepts, that new concepts, things that you didn't know, you were not exposed to at home, and all that. Just for a moment, be in that space and then become a young adult. You're in your mid 20s, late 20s, your job, whatever, if you moved out of home, your current environment, and all the people you meet at work. Just observe all of them, everything in your environment, your home, and then just come back to this moment, this conversation, the people, the room, the thoughts, and just take a deep breath in and exhale. And ask yourself, did the observer ever know its age or anything? It was just flowing through every age. It was flowing through every environment. It was flowing through every idea. The ideas were changing, the environments were changing, the people were changing, the thoughts were changing, food was changing, clothes was changing, but the observer was always the one and same, unchanging, immortal. You can take a deep breath in and open your eyes.
Wow. I got a little emotional actually just going through that.
Yeah.
Seeing all my development through when I was little to now, yes, it was un man, because I also felt, exactly how I felt during that time with my
Yes.
ideas, with my emotions in each step of my life. But also from an observer perspective, it's neutral. It's like watching a movie.
Yeah. And also understanding, Eudora, that what you can observe cannot be you, can never be you. The subject and object. So if you could observe your emotions, those emotions are not you, they changed. If
Mm,
you could observe your thoughts, the thoughts are not you, they changed. Anything that you can observe. So that is what in Vedanta we call in Sanskrit aham and idam. There are only two things. Aham is the I consciousness, the witness, and idam is the world of objects. Everything is an object. Even your mind is an object, your emotions are object, because anything that you can observe is an object.
that is true.
So you are not your emotions, you're not your thoughts, you are that observer that was the same when you were 2, it was same when you were 8, it was same when you're 12, it is same when you're 20, same when you're 30, same. The observer cannot change. It's the I, the awareness. Everything else will change because if you can observe it, it's not you.
If you can observe it, it is not you. Yes. If I'm seeing it from that perspective, I'm detached from that.
Yes, and that's the job of the observer. There only exists the observer because that's the only thing that doesn't change. Everything else changes. Your body changes, environment changes, people changes, thoughts changes, emotions changes, experiences changes, but the observer is always there. Everywhere the observer was there. The 2-year-old was not there in the 8-year-old. 8-year-old was not there in the 12 or 15-year-old, but the observer was there in the 2, in the 8, in the 14, in the 20, in the 30.
And humans are the only ones who have this ability, right? Animals do not.
Yeah, animals don't see, they are conscious, but we have one additional factor conscious of being conscious.
Conscious
You
of
are
being.
aware of being aware. They are just aware because they have awareness in them. If you poke them, if you hurt them, they will register. That is the consciousness, but they're not aware. They're not reflecting. They're not contemplating. We have the ability to be aware of being aware. I'm aware that I'm aware right now. You know when that stops? Because we have three states of our mind. We go through the waking state, sleep state, and deep sleep. So in the waking state, our body is active, mind is active, consciousness is there. You don't see the consciousness. Consciousness is the witness, the awareness. Now, when you go to the sleep state, you drop the body, just the mind and consciousness. When you go to deep sleep, you drop the mind, there's only the consciousness. So, because you don't know you're in deep sleep because you've dropped the mind. So, your mind cannot be you, but you were alive. Your mind was not there, but you were alive. You next morning you got up and you said, I had a deep sleep. If your mind was not there, who registered you had a deep sleep?
Wow. This is so profound. I felt like my mind just got blown.
This is the matrix moment, the blue pill.
Oh my gosh. It's wow. This has really changed a lot of the way I view things. And I'm going to take this back and process and reflect.
And make have lots of questions, and we'll meet in our next podcast, which I cannot wait to have with you because you have such curiosity, you have such an amazing capacity to accept unknown concepts, and that's really exciting.
Oh man, I'm so excited to go on the next podcast with you because I'm sure I already have some questions in my mind, and I'm sure during the time from now to then, there's going to be a lot that's going to pop up. So I appreciate, your kind words as always, and for opening up to talk with me and with your open-minded as well too. I've also learned from you, you learn from me. It's a give and take right here. So thank you so much, Nivedita. As always, it's been such a pleasure. Every time I learn something when I speak with you, you are very insightful and knowledgeable. And I'm so excited for everybody else who has the opportunity to watch this interview, to watch this podcast, because I'm sure they're also going to learn a lot as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Namaste. I enjoy every moment of this and look forward to our next one. Thank you.